popping and a singing his song. All the little birds on Jaybird Street love to hear the robin go tweet, tweet, tweet. Rockin' Robin, tweet, tweet, rockin' Robin.
Hey Crafty Babes, it's Andrea here, and I'm going to take you through some progress that I've made on my One Little Word album. So back in, was it January, February? I'll link it in the bottom. I did a video on how I was setting up and prepping my One Little Word album for the year. So my word is quality, and what I decided to do was take the word and then come up with like 5 kind of subcategories for things in my life that I wanted to be of quality. And then I made like this little title card, which is in the other video, and I did some kind of base opening pages, and I made one divider. So at the time, all I had was, I think, time, and I hadn't finished any of the others. So I'm going to take you through the progress that I've made. So I'll just take you through the beginning just a little bit. So this is just kind of a starting opening page, and just I talk a little bit about why I chose that word. And then I have another little opening page, which I just really loved the colors, and I loved the idea that I could just kind of use some simple words and a little bit of journaling to just get that same point across about, you know, these are the details about all of the things that I want to do with my word this year. And then because that side, this side was blank, I just took some other little pieces and matched what I had created on this side. So each sub word is going to have its own opening, like a divider page, so that then I can put some pages behind it. So this first one is quality time. And so I ask the question, and then I have some actions that I want to do. And then when we flip over, I don't actually have any of these pages done because I have some photos and supplies set aside for this category. I just haven't got to them yet, but I have some others. So I've also just used the Avery self-adhesive divider tabs and then used some washi and cardstock to make the insert for the divider. And then here is health. So I did some little labels to put my actions in, but everything that you'll see in here is going to be from digital kits that I purchased that were representative of the theme I was going for all these different categories. So then within the health section, I did a couple of different pages. So I've had this, I believe this is a Studio Calico card, and I've hung on to it forever because I just loved it. It just reminds me kind of like the side of a produce box, and it's got that real vintage feel. And I knew that I would be able to use it for, you know, some of my clean eating photos. And so here I have a picture of this really delicious snack that I found when I started doing this album. So it's one of my favorites still. It's just some apple slices with almond butter and golden raisins. It's super good. And you make them like little sandwiches. Really super fun. And then here on the other side of that, I kept a receipt for some good grocery shopping that we did on New Year's Eve because we normally have a really junky New Year's Eve, and this past year we were feeling really awful about where we had gotten health-wise, and so we decided to do some better shopping so that we didn't have all that junk in the house left over. So that's what I have so far. I have lots of other photos kind of set aside for each of these different categories, and I just work on them at little random times. So I've also finished all of the category dividers. I'm making the design of each divider have a similar flow. So it's going to have my one little word up top, and then it will have the little subcategory here under the line. And then I'll ask the question, and then somewhere down below I'll have my action items. So for quality stuff, I want to do a whole house purge. So I've made a master list of all of the places that I'd like to clean out. And then I'm just trying to checking them off as we go. I keep that in my planner. And then I'd like to, I say this all the time, but every time, you know, like what comes into the house changes, you know, depending on if the boys are in school or kind of what grades they're in. So I'd like to develop a system for all the incoming stuff, like so mail, school papers. So I kind of have a temporary solution at this point, but we're going back to school next week. So I'm sure that it'll get adjusted once we get going into the school year. And then this other part, or this other item that I'd like to work on, is purchasing with purpose. So like scrapbook paper and scrapbook supplies, those kinds of things, I kind of have a rule, and this is the rule I also use for when I buy clothing, is for clothing specifically, the rule is I have to be able to wear that item with 3 different things that I already own. So if I'm looking at a pair of shoes, I have to take that pair of shoes and go, okay, I have a shirt I can wear with this, I have a skirt I can wear with this, and I have a pair of pants I can wear with this. And then if it meets that criteria, then I, allow myself the purchase. But if I look at, a shirt and I'm like, I have no idea what I would even wear this with, even though I like it, I avoid purchasing it. So I'm doing the same thing with other things that I buy, and just so that I can just kind of avoid all of the stuff coming into the house. So working on that. Art is another one of the categories that I'd like to just make sure that I'm doing with quality. So being on design teams, I always worried about being on design teams and thinking, okay, how in the world do people create, pages for August when it's only June? And so I avoided design teams for a while until I, realized I don't have to use photos from August. What I won't do is create a dummy page, just to show off the product. I will make sure that if I'm spending my time, even if it's to promote somebody's product, I'm going to make sure that the end result is still something I care about, is part of my scrapbook album, and is not just for show, basically. So that's something that I've decided and have been able to follow through on. Also, when I create, it is for me, but I do want to inspire others. So I make sure that, when I'm doing blog posts or when I'm posting to Instagram, that I am, trying to give somebody a tip or a hint, or, just something to be helpful, instead of just saying, look at this fabulous thing. So that's something I've liked to work on. And then also creating for me and to not please or be like others. So I know where my weaknesses are. And so I don't try, just because I like the look of what somebody else can do, if I know that that's not necessarily my style, I will, stick with what my style is, so that I know that it's true to who I am. So I have some really fun photos that I'm excited about getting into this art category. So that'll be really fun. And then the last category is words. So kind of like words and thoughts, and I want to, use new words and learn new words, like with definitions and words that I haven't used before or knew about. Speaking and thinking with grace, and having patience when I speak, quality conversations, and spending time in God's Word. And so all of these things I get to work on throughout my craftiness and throughout my regular non-crafty life, in my work life. And so I'm unsure how I'm going to physically illustrate these things. Thinking out loud, I might screenshot some words that I've learned, or maybe just a photo that goes along with some journaling about an experience or a story. So we'll see how that turns out. So I don't have any actual photos to go along with that category just yet. But I just wanted to give you guys a little overview. I know sometimes that one little word projects can fizzle out, especially if you're not taking Allie's class, and I am not taking her class, and it kind of worried me that maybe it would fizzle out for me as well. But I also included my one little word into these new iris cases that I got. So that way everything is just here in one place. And then I also have, let me show you. So I also am keeping all of my one little word supplies kind of in the same little bin, so that when I'm ready to work on it, then things are just here. So I've already pre-picked out some different supplies that I knew would go with the color schemes of the kits that I'm using, and then just some things that I thought would be easy to do some journaling and decorating. So I'm keeping everything in one spot, and I keep everything with the album all in one little bucket, so everything is easy to get to and easy to work on. I hope you've enjoyed, and I hope that you're making some progress on your one little word. I will see you guys later. Bye.